from minor things all the way to armed robbery. And he eventually went to prison in Missouri for armed robbery.
After Sonny went to prison, a Catholic priest, Father Stevens, talked him into go out for boxing. And then after Sonny won the championship at the prison very easily, Father Stevens was so impressed. First he got Sonny a parole, and then later on he arranged for him to introduce him into professional fighting as he got him some managers.
He won the Golden Gloves here, and he went to the national championships where he had 3 fights. None lasted more than 3 minutes. So what do you do with them then? You got to turn them pro. There's no point keeping them an amateur. So we did.
It was after he moved to Philadelphia that Sonny really became a force in boxing. He had a tremendous left jab and a great hook. And he just started beating up on people like Zora Foley and Cleveland Williams and Eddie Mason. He just destroyed people.
Well, from the outset, I'd say that Sonny Liston belongs among the 5 greatest heavyweights of all time. He had a left jab in front of him, which was probably the best in all heavyweight history. Had the kind of a jab that went through you.
Now, here's a guy who came into the gym and would hit the speed bag so hard that it would come off its hinges.
He knocked the stuffing out of the headgear. I mean, this guy could really hit. The stitching on the headgear, when he hit you, it came apart.
I think it's fair to say that he was considered like a Joe Louis, like a Mike Tyson.
He was one of the nicest guys you ever wanted to see when he wasn't drinking. But when he got his little drink in him, he had a problem.
In 1956, in a brawl with a police officer, the cop wound up with a broken knee, and Sonny managed to run off with the cop's gun and a cap.
Him and the cop got into it, and the cop called him a black-ass nigger. He pushed the cop, and then he took the cop's gun, and he got 7 months for it.
And I didn't get him that night, but we got him a couple of nights later. Of course, I took him in the alley and talked to him, talked his language, and he understood what I meant. Nobody wanted to get killed. Nobody wanted to get the head caved in. I said, that's what's going to happen if you keep fucking around here.
After that breaking that policeman's knee, Sonny was picked up and put back in the workhouse. And then after his release, he wound up in another fight with a policeman, wound up putting him upside down in a trash barrel. But now the police were tired of arresting him, and they just told him, get out of town or else.
All you had to do was look at their eyes. And they were out already. They already had a glaze. And you knew, looking at Floyd Patterson, that it wasn't going to last very long.
The rest of the ring. And then smacks a left hand to the side of the head of Patterson. And Patterson's in trouble, and the left hook smacks him down. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He is out.
If the public would let bygones be bygones, that I would be a good champ, maybe a better champ than he was, either just as good a champ as he was.
After Sonny won the title in Chicago, he was going through on a United flight back some of the things he was going to say at his reception at the airport. And he said, I know a lot of my own people were against me. And he said, I want to prove to them that I'm not going to disgrace them, I'm not going to embarrass them, that I'm going to make them proud. So when we finally landed in Philadelphia, he took a step outside the door of the cockpit and stood there for a moment, and he was looking. I could see him look both ways, and it was nothing. There was no evidence of any kind of activity, of organized activity in the way of welcome. And I could just see almost the air go out of him. I mean, these big, broad shoulders in front of me just seemed to sag with the recognition that there was no welcome here for him.
Even after he became champion, the Philadelphia police, they went right on harassing him. They're just petty things, picking him up for standing on a street corner talking to someone. For Sonny, the last straw is when they picked him up in the park for driving too slowly.
It was after that driving too slow in the park that he said that he was going on to Denver and that he would rather be a lamppost in Denver, I think he said, than the mayor of Philadelphia.
He wanted to be close to Father Murphy, and he hoped that would be the end of police harassment.
I think Murphy was maybe one of the few people, one of the 1, 2, or 3 people in this world that Liston never trusted. He was almost childlike around Father Murphy.
Father Murphy was like a father to Sonny. And he would talk and try to advise Sonny to help Sonny out, to keep him out of trouble.
Father Murphy felt sorry for him. He used to say, "We have to pray for the poor bastard." And that was because he was an accident waiting to happen.
When he was away from Father Murphy, and when Geraldine, his wife, was out of town, he'd drink too much. And that white caddy he'd get in it, and he'd run stop signs, and he'd exceed the speed limit, and he'd get stopped over and over and over. Father Murphy claimed it was harassment. The Denver police said he was an 18-karat phony.
The police was picking on Sonny. When they saw his car, they would follow him. He loved to drink, and he would get out of hand. He might pick up some girls and go to the hotel room. As soon as they saw Sonny's car, they would pull him over.
If he throwed the fight, he went to his grave. He never told me. And if he throwed, I didn't see none of the money.
I went in the back in the dressing room, and he was all by himself. I said to him, "I know how you feel. I've experienced this myself." He didn't say one word. He didn't say anything. He just kept looking and looking, and he had that mean look on his face. And I don't think he knew he had the mean look, but I kept on talking anyway. And finally I said, "I don't think I'm reaching him." So I said, "Okay, I'll see you later." So I went to walk out the door, and before I could get out to the door, he ran up and put his arms on my shoulder. I turned around, and he said, "Thanks." You know, then I knew then that I reached him.
The funeral procession went down the strip, and people came out of the casinos to pay homage to Sonny Liston. The ironic thing about it was that Sonny, to the end, had a police escort, even down the strip. I thought that was the perfect touch. He had a police escort in St. Louis. He had a police escort in Philadelphia. He had a police escort in Denver. And he ended up with a police escort in Las Vegas.
The tragedy of Liston as a man was that I don't think he was ever understood by the public that he was dealing with. And he never knew how to make that public understand him.
I know all the bad things that Sonny did, or at least enough of them, you know, and I can't make excuses for a lot of the stuff that he did. But I think Sonny Liston had so many light years to come.
Many times I was around with Sonny Liston, he said, "You like me, don't you?" Like a little kid would, you know. I said, "Sure, I like you." He said, "You know, I like you too." I think because of his terrible background growing up, he was looking for somebody who didn't criticize him and who didn't want to hit him with a club or a stick.
Sonny brought a lot of that stuff on himself. There's no question about it. There is nonetheless an undercurrent of sadness about Sonny Liston, and I feel it for him because he was born without a chance. On some level of his life, he was a stranger to everybody who knew him in a way, because he was one guy to one person and one guy to another. Nobody knows exactly when he was born, and very appropriately, nobody knows exactly the day he died. Here's a man who didn't know himself, and I don't know if anybody else really knew the whole Sonny Liston either.